Hi everyone, and welcome back to the second FDSU tutorial. Okay, let's get started. So in this tutorial, we're going to be covering PFP View. So as previously mentioned, we can click on the toggle nearest primary address over on the right-hand side and turn on the address icon, which are the green house icons. Another way to get to the pre-plan map is to go to the left-hand side and click on Preplan's map. If you ever want to go back to responder view, feel free to click on the FDSU icon. If you want to search for a particular address, you can enter it on the search bar on the top left. So say 9400 Culver Boulevard, and here we are at 9400 Culver Boulevard. The pop-up, as before, has the dashboard and the edit pre-plan. Today we're going to be going over the edit pre-plan button, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that. It's going to ask me which address I want to select. I'm going to click on the main address. However, you can click on the secondary addresses if that's the PFP that you are completing. Briefly, we're going to go over the different sections of the Preplan View. So first and foremost, we have address details, and simple and straightforward, it contains the address. Next is the occupancy details. We can have a lot of valuable information here. This section will ultimately be populated by ER and inspection database. However, if there's something that you feel you need to include, please do so. Next, we have units. There are two ways to add pre-plan units. One is in the units section on the left-hand side, and one is on the units section on the top right. So if you want to add a unit, but you don't know the exact location, the left-hand side of the page would be most helpful. So let's say you have barred windows and it's across the entire building. We can add barred windows, add it, and it'll come up in unmapped items, but it will populate in the dashboard and create a tile that will alert other first responders. So let's say you also wanted to add that it's an assisted living facility, you could add that and it will populate it for the entire building as well. Also, this is all organized in alphabetical order, making it a bit easier to find items. However, I do prefer the Add Pre-Plan Unit button on the right-hand side because it has icons. The only downside of this is that you can't add it for the entire building. You would have to place it in the appropriate location. So let's say I want to put a door somewhere. Well, I can add that here, but you can't add it to unmapped items, as you can see here. So remember, right side only if you know the location. If you don't know the location and you want to add something to the general building, use the left-hand side and include it in the unmapped items. Moving on, we have the hazmat icon on the left-hand side. And if you don't have the exact information for the hazardous material, you can simply add it as an unmapped item by clicking Add. And there you have hazmat number 1. It doesn't have any particular information, but it's still helpful to know when there is hazardous material on site. If you know the UN number, for example, you can search it in the UN number lookup. You can also search common names in UN lookup, and it will see if there's anything that matches your description. So for example, let's say sulfuric acid. And here we have several options. You can choose the option that matches what you're looking for. And if you know the health hazards, you can add that as well. The fire hazard, reactivity, special hazard, all of that information would be incredibly valuable. And next we have contact information. This is pretty self-explanatory. We go to the Add New button. And there we go. We have our first contact and a lot of information letting us know what kind of situations we can call them for. We have attachments here, and we're able to upload attachments by clicking on this box. For the add levels, this one already has some data included, so I'm just going to really quickly delete 2 of them and then add them again just to show you how to do it. So 6th level and basement. And the nice thing about this is that you can reorder the layers by dragging them into the right place. That's it. That's really easy for that part. And then lastly, we have annotations. I'm going to do a separate video or a 2-parter on annotations since that's a bit more complex. Moving forward, you can also collapse this section by clicking on this Hide Form button. It looks like a little arrow, and it'll collapse it. You can bring it back up by clicking on that arrow again. There you go. that section is back up. Okay, so for now I'm going to collapse it. And then on the right hand side, we already went over the pre-plan units here. You can click on that and add hazmat for a certain location, similar to what you would have done with a PPU. You don't want to use this hazmat button if you are adding it to the entire building. You only want to use it when you know the exact location. Next is annotations, which we're going to cover in the next video. And then we also have toggle secondary addresses, which we've covered in a previous video. Okay, and then for this, you have the layers. You're able to turn those on and off as we mentioned in the previous video. And moving on, we also have the points of interest button, which will populate names and labels for landmarks. And this could be helpful for orientation. Next, we have this little peg man for Street View. This is really helpful for certain situations when you want to add a PPU, but need a more exact location. And I'll show you how to use this Street View button to add them in the correct places. To exit the Street View, you can click on the back button for the Google Maps, which is behind the Submit button. Don't worry, if you click Submit, a pop-up will appear asking you if you want to submit it for review, and you can always click Cancel. And then we have the Zoom in, Zoom out buttons, but in your case, you'll probably be using a tablet. Next, we also have the Google and ArcGIS toggle button. As previously mentioned, you want to stick to Google. We also have the Map and Satellite toggle button, and this is really up to you. You can click on map if you want something cleaner. It does help some of the annotations and hydrants and other layers stand out if you have a more simplified map. So let's check that out. Okay, I'm gonna go back to satellite. Let's finish checking this out. To submit a PFP, you can click on the submit button, and then if you're sure you want to submit, click OK. If not, you can always cancel. The cancel button is also available if you want to erase all the information you've added, which we will be doing in a second. So if you want to erase everything, go to cancel and click OK, and I'll show you what that looks like. So all that information has been erased. Okay, let's collapse this again. And then for the draft button, this is the only button that won't prompt a pop-up. So for this button, if you click it, it'll just save your work. And there you go. Those are all the buttons in the pre-plan view. Let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments, or you can email me. My information is available in that Welcome to First Do email.